Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Podcast. I'm Mike.
Justin.
And waiting for Jordan.
Oh.
Jordan?
You guys there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Oh, there you are. Everybody cut out.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Jordan. Let's try that again.
Okay, let's start from the top here. Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Geeked Podcast. I'm Mike.
Justin.
Jordan.
And we get together every week or every few weeks to chat for an hour or two about everything from film, television, music, books, comics, games, toys, and sports. The music provided in our intro and outro is from Mevio's Music Alley. You can check it out at music.mevio.com. If you'd like to contact us, there's several ways that you can do so. You can email us at geekedpodcast@gmail.com. That's geeked spelled Geeked, podcast@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook under Geeked Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Geeked Podcast. You can leave us a voicemail on Skype by reaching out to Geeked Podcast. Keep in mind that nobody will answer when you call, so please just leave a message. You can subscribe to the show via our Podbean website at geekedpod.podbean.com. You can also subscribe to us via iTunes. Just search for Geeked Podcast. You can also rate and review our show on iTunes. Please do so, and while we can't guarantee it, we'll do our best to work your suggestions in the show. If you reach out to us in any of these formats, we'll do our best to work your questions or comments into the show as well. You can also find all of our contact and subscription information in the show notes each week. So what's new, guys?
Not much.
Nothing, man.
Saving the universe.
Saving the universe one dull game at a time.
Oh, it's a very exciting game. I'll just have you know, last night I landed on the moon.
Did you find any wizards?
You know, there are wizards in the game. One of the badass NPCs is called a wizard.
Right on. So what Jordan's talking about here is the big game drop of the week was Destiny. I believe it dropped not only for Xbox 360 and PS3, but also the new-gen systems, PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
Jordan, go ahead and give us the rundown, man.
So it is awesome. It is a new game from Bungie, the guys that did Halo. So this is their first game that is not Halo. You definitely see a lot of the Halo influence in the game, but it's a story-driven game that's 100% cooperative, or you can solo it, and then it's got multiplayer on the side as well. You basically make a character that's one of three classes: Titan, which is your tank; Hunter, which is your sniper; and then a Warlock that does kind of like the Jedi Force powers. Your main character you can level up doing the story mode or running missions, and he's the same character you do in the multiplayer matches. So you got to level up in the story to be better in those matches, or vice versa. And you get a spaceship, and you get to go around a beat-up-looking Russia, the Moon, Venus, and I think Mars when you get high enough.
Right on. So the is it a first-person shooter? Is it third-person?
It's got both. The combat is first-person shooter. So you're
Hey, Justin, that noise is picking up on the mic, man.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Be respectful. It is a first-person shooter, but there's a social element to it. Basically, where you go to get missions or buy your weapons or things, it's called the Tower, which is the one city where humanity is kind of like, that's where everybody lives. So when you're there, there's no combat. So then it switches to third person, and you see your guy running around, and he takes his helmet off so you can see his face. And it even has some like social options where like you can wave to somebody, or you can dance, or you can sit down if you need to take a break. And you can do that in like when you're doing the missions and stuff. When you're not shooting anybody, you can just bust out dancing. So when you and your buddies take down the big boss at the end, it's a dance party. You got to celebrate.
Oh yeah, is it like Halo and you can teabag guys after they're dead?
Well, you can always teabag guys. Since it is NPCs that you're shooting in the story mode, they disappear pretty quickly, so you don't have too much of that. But yeah, in the online, there's a little bit, and then eventually your dead body just kind of turns into an orb, and you go revive the orb, and then brings it back. So there's not too much of that, but it's possible.
Right on.
So yeah, the critical response to the game has been less than stellar, I guess I should say. I think it's sitting like at a 70, like a upper 70 on Metacritic, which is not terrible, but I've seen mixed thoughts about the game out there, so which kind of disappointed me because I was super looking forward to it. Just way too busy right now to be able to go get another thing to get invested in. I mean, Madden's soaking up any free time that I had. I haven't got to play that at all this week. So, but yeah, I mean, from what I've read, I mean, I mean, obviously it's got a /dance button in it, right? I mean, it sounds very MMO-esque.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there's definitely an element to that of, some of the missions where you're just doing them to level up. It's go here and touch this, kill 5 enemies, collect this, and the mission's done. So it's definitely not original in the gameplay or the story. It's just all the elements together, I think, is what impresses me. Because Halo doesn't have the MMO side to it. It's just a shooter, and most MMOs don't have that shooter aspect where you're not skill based. It's you click the button and it just goes. And the technology. So basically, it's the good guys are the Guardians. So that's what you play as. And then there's 3 alien races that you're fighting, and those 3 races are fighting each other. So if you're in a part of the map where 2 of them are spawning in, they shoot each other, and so you can just let them kill each other and then just walk through, or you can pick a side, or you can wipe them all out.
right on. Yeah, I know. Like I said, unfortunately, the way that things are kind of falling out of the game, it looks like it's probably not going to be something that's up my alley, which kind of disappoints me because I'm not a very big MMO guy. I don't have a lot of online experience. I don't usually interact with games in that way for the most part. So it sounds like in order to get the most out of the game, you kind of have to team up with a group of people, and I don't know if that's going to be something that's super realistic at this point. So sounds like one of my most anticipated games of the year might be something that I don't pick up, which kind of sucks for me. So
probably. Well, you guys just you need to try it. It's you don't need a team online, but it does add so much to it. There's 2 guys at work that I play with, and one of the guys are I think we were like level 7 or 8 the other night, and the 3rd guy signed on, and he just started, so he's a level 2. So we all go on a mission together, and me and the other level 7 guy, we just kind of hold back, and level 2 guy just charges forward, and we're like, yeah, go get him, man, be a man. And he dies instantly, so we have to go pick him up. So we pick him up, and then he starts shooting again, and he dies again. So we pick him up and say, you just shoot anyone that shoots us. Stay behind us.
So when you are actually playing, I mean, are you playing in like someone else's instance of the game, or
no? It is an open server basically, and the servers are huge. I don't know what the limit is on how many players, but like when you're in the tower where it's just the social aspect, there's got to be at least 30 characters running around in this map. And then when you're like on the mission map, it's the same map. So you might see a group of 3 people over to your right fighting aliens. You might see somebody over to your left fighting aliens. You can all fight the same people. They have like live server events where just a huge boss will drop down, and everyone shoots this guy, and everybody gets a prize if you kill him.
So Jordan, what's the premise of the story mode?
Well, so in the future, a giant ball comes to Earth, and they call him the Traveler, and he's all like, hey guys, I'm going to make you live to be 300 years old and show you how to travel through space. And so we do that, and humanity spreads out, and then the darkness is the bad side, and they come looking for the ball. Yeah, basically it's the flood. And so they push humanity back and back and back until we're on like one city on Earth with the Traveler, and then we've got a few little outposts on the moon and some of the other planets. And so that's been going on for hundreds of years, and now we're fighting back.
So basically it's we're trying to reclaim our planet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's Jordan's score on the game right now?
I'm really enjoying it. I love playing it by myself, playing it with other people, just playing it with random people. It's fun. It's challenging. Graphic-wise, it's great. It's definitely a buy.
Right on.
Maybe not for you two. I know how you play games. But, for any professional gamers out there, definitely pick it up.
Right on. Justin, what about you, man?
I have a couple things here. Just real quick, I know that I keep on checking in with the strain. I know last week as we were signing off, I said that the episode that aired, I guess at this point would be a couple weeks ago, was really good, but my hopes for the show were still pretty low, and it turns out that I was 100% correct in tempering my expectations for this show to get better, because this week the episode went back to the same old shit that the rest of the series has been. So I'll continue to watch. Like I said, I read the books. I'm still a big fan of the property, and it really depends. I think it has potential to be good. It just hasn't met that potential outside of the episode a few weeks ago, which was kind of a bottle episode. Everybody kind of huddled in a gas station dealing with these infected vampire creatures. Also did get a chance to watch the finale of The Leftovers, which I brought up a few episodes back, and boy howdy was it the biggest wet fart of a finale I've ever seen. The whole
what
concept,
a comparison.
The whole concept of the series, like I said, it kind of hinged upon the idea of a big portion of the population disappearing one day and how people deal with that. It's based upon a book. The book was really good. I read the book, and the book's more of a meditation on how people deal with the loss and how it affects their lives moving forward from that. But the show really had a lot of hints and barbs that kind of led you to believe that there was more of a supernatural element going on. And in the finale, they didn't resolve any of those issues. They didn't really answer any questions that the show had presented, and I really hate when television shows do that.
Was it only going to be a one-season show?
Well, when they initially started, it was supposed to be a one-season show. They've renewed it for a second season. I think, I would imagine that they probably expected it to be picked up for a second season. That's why they put all these little hints as to something bigger going on in the storyline. But like literally in this episode, as a non sequitur, this character's like, "Did this guy tell you about Russia?" Out of the blue, like I said, absolutely nothing to do with any other conversation that had been had. And so obviously that's going to, spin off a whole bunch of wild speculation as to what that means in the context of the entire universe. But it never was discussed before or after that.
Right.
So like I said, it's stuff like that that's really frustrating and ultimately makes the finale not something that I found super satisfying. The performances were good. There were some great moments in the finale. But ultimately it wasn't satisfying. So I would say avoid that. We'll see what season 2 is like. I'm kind of a glutton for punishment, and as I've said in the past, I'll continue to watch shit even if I hate it. But then also I know Jordan was really pushing us to check out Utopia, and my predilection for watching shows that I hate just couldn't overcome how much I hated the opening 15 minutes of the first episode of Utopia.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
And I really did give it a shot. I sat down this afternoon, actually, started to watch it, and
you're better than me.
It's typical reality show fare from what I've seen. I don't know if Jordan's watched any more of it than I have.
I've watched all 3 episodes this week.
God damn, man, you really must be a glutton for punishment.
Well, I thought we were going to talk about it this week. I like the premise of the show, but there are definitely reality TV aspects of it that are going to ultimately kill it. The host.
It is a reality TV show. What else were you expecting?
I do definitely agree with Jordan. I think the idea or the concept behind the show of having, 15 people?
Well, they start with 14.
Okay.
And so far they're going to add somebody to bring it up to 15, but they just lost somebody, so they're going to be down to 14 again.
But it's not so much of like a competition show. It's about these. It's almost like a Big Brother, Real World-esque, like these people just coexisting and creating a quote-unquote utopia. But like I said, I watched it for the first 15 minutes, and of course they have. I was slack-jawed at the cast of characters. They have Reverend Ray. That's there to be a preacher, a homeless dude that started freaking out in the first 15 minutes of the show, a toothless hillbilly that his contribution to the box that they were creating for stuff that they had brought was a bottle of Knob Creek whiskey. And just, like I said, some cartoonish bullshit. And the thing that made me turn it off was initially they kind of show up, you know how most reality shows do, especially I've watched a lot of Real World in my day, and I would argue that especially the earlier seasons of Real World was maybe one of the only reality shows that was worth watching. But
barely. They
kind of showed up to this enclosed environment that they're going to live in. Is it a year, Jordan? Is that the conceit of the show? Is that what they're saying?
They live on this 5-acre ranch for a year, up to a year, because I guess there's going to be some way to eliminate people as it goes on, because it's only going to be 15. So once a month they bring in somebody new, so someone's going to have to leave. They haven't explained how that's going to work yet.
Okay, but regardless, like I said, not to belabor the point here, but they sit down at within this barn structure. They've all brought their individual items, and they sit on this table. And in this table, all of a sudden, this like dynamic CG thing pops up in front of them, and they're all This is the thing that makes it's so fake. Obviously, this was added in post. Obviously, they added all this CG graphics, but they're all sitting there staring, and they had to have just been staring at nothing because nothing was there. They had to have just been looking and like acting like they saw something when they didn't see it. And like, it's not motherfucking snakes on a plane.
Since, by the way.
Holy shit, man!
I think that was just for the opening. I think that's where the budget went because they didn't spend any money on the show.
But yeah, like I said, I don't really think it's something that's worth discussing super in depth unless Jordan really felt strongly about wanting to talk about it. And if he continues to watch, maybe it'll be something he can bring up in subsequent episodes. But I wanted to say that I attempted to watch it and that I really did not enjoy it. So
yeah, you're better than me. I could have told you just from the commercials it was going to be bad. It's a goddamn reality show, another stupid ass reality show.
But it is more than a reality show. It's more of a social. You're looking at the stereotypes and you're looking how people interact with each other and do
that's
things.
what the real world was.
Right, it's very much like that. Or Discovery had The Colony. They did 2 seasons where they put strangers in this habitat. Like if a viral outbreak comes, they have to survive for 3 months or whatever. I like shows like that.
Yeah, but that makes sense. But those people that they chose for that show were like scientists, right? Like they were like scientifically minded.
Some of them were just rednecks.
Instead of, but not as big of rednecks as the dude that they picked out for Utopia.
True, and you really, if anything, you missed out because these 3 episodes, has been all over the place. He is your stereotypical redneck meth head. Like there is,
and that's exactly why they picked him.
Yeah, it's great because they just go nuts on the second episode because so the story is they only get $5,000 for a year. Is all their money, and they have to. Once that's gone, they have to start making money somehow. So they buy groceries. So one of the guys there is a chef, so he's in charge of the food. He's calling the grocery store just for prices, so he can figure out, how much he's going to spend and what kind of food it is. And the redneck and the convict have kind of teamed up, and they go nuts. They hear him ordering radishes and stuff, and they're like, "We don't need that food. What are you doing?" They flip out and they just start destroying all the food in the place. And the chef hangs up the phone. He's like, "I was getting prices, you morons."
Oh my god.
So they break into the safe and they steal money and order their own
I'm glad
food.
I'm out.
Needless to say, I don't think Mike was ever in, and I think that I have checked out here within the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the show. So
I don't know. As far as reality shows go, I think it's probably one of the better ones. But yeah, it's got some.
Can you call anything reality good?
Yeah, I think there's some good ones out there.
I might tend to disagree.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would echo Mike's sentiments. Most of the time, reality TV shows I can't stand. But
most of them, I agree with that, yeah. But I've seen the good ones. Congratulations to Gary Busey, by the way. He won the Big Brother UK this season.
Did he?
Yep.
Interesting.
So, don't know how he pulled that off.
It must have been all the talking to his pants. People must have thought he was nuts.
Something. I know he was naked on it quite a bit.
Yeah, that's all I know. Big Brother is the after dark shit that's always been advertised as the steamy, pay to see these people have sex on shitty night vision cameras underneath the covers. No, thank you. So
yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I think we're getting closer to the point where there'll just be one channel where you do just follow people around. The channel is just their lives for a year or whatever.
And on that day, I will avoid that channel for the rest of my life.
Well, football will be on. You won't have to worry about it.
Damn right.
Well, like I said, I definitely was not very excited for Utopia, but there was something that happened this week that I was extremely excited about, and that was the announcement of the new iPhone that hit Tuesday.
Oh, jeez. You guys complain about reality TV.
Hey, man. You have a smartphone now, too, Jordan. You can't
not an
sit
Apple.
on your ivory tower and judge us.
Apples are the devil.
But yeah, I mean, they announced a couple new SKUs of the phone. There's a 4.7 inch and a 5.5 inch. Obviously, all the standard fare of the better graphics and better processor. And in any case, I am in the market for a new phone. My phone battery is not very good.
Yeah, and that was another one of the notes too. Was that it was a better battery life.
Yeah, the especially the 6 Plus, the bigger version, which I think I'm leaning toward getting.
Me too.
I kind of want to see what it's like, see if it'll fit in my pocket, because 5.5 is a pretty big phone. But yeah, I was excited. I don't think it was as big of a leap as I kind of wanted it to be, but it's a new iPhone, so it's the biggest departure from the form factor that they've had in a while, and the fact that they went with such a big screen kind of speaks to, I think, a demand of the market for bigger phones. Wrapped up within that announcement, they also had a couple of bigger announcements. I shouldn't say bigger, but definitely a couple of other announcements. Apple Pay, which is kind of a NFC wallet integration where you can kind of scan in your credit cards and use NFC to pay at certain locations, and that's kind of the future. Eventually, we'll get to the point where that's the case entirely. And then the Apple Watch, which was obviously heavily rumored. Everybody kind of knew that it was going to be the case.
Calling Dick Tracy.
And I've been excited ever since I've seen the Galaxy Wear, the Samsung stuff. I've been excited. Specifically, the Moto 360 is an Android Wear watch that is supposed to be released here within the month, and everything that I've seen about it kind of makes me excited. It's kind of an extension of your phone, kind of a notification center, but the potential for it to be something where you can have that big ass phone in your pocket. You don't have to pull it out all the time and kind of see a text message or something like that. Kind of excites me. I will have to say the Apple Watch I think is ugly. I don't think that it is as nice as far as the aesthetics, the design, as I thought Apple would deliver. But I'm excited. It's not supposed to come out until early next year. It's supposed to start at $350, which is kind of a lot for me. But when you're looking at timepieces, when you're looking at watches, that's really not that far of a departure from a nice watch that you'd be buying at a store like Fossil or something like that. So, like I said, I was excited. I thought that Apple did a pretty good job of delivering upon my expectations, if not, delivering in full. So,
right on.
And I do want to apologize for getting a little ranty here for the last topic that I really want to dive into, and I know Mike probably has some pretty strong feelings about this. I don't know exactly how Jordan is going to take it. I'm sure he's heard about all of the shit show that has been the NFL this last week.
Yeah.
I guess the skinny or quick rundown of the situation is a few months back there was some footage of Ray Rice dragging his unconscious then fiance, now wife, out of an elevator, and obviously it was speculated that he had struck her in the elevator. And it went through the process of the NFL. They reviewed the tape that they said that they had at the time. They suspended him for 2 games. There was much hue and cry about the fact that it was,
as well as there should have been,
pretty lenient suspension. But everything kind of died down for a little while. Everybody obviously still had that on the forefront of their mind. And at the beginning of this week, TMZ, which, holy shit, we're talking about TMZ releasing footage here that I hate TMZ, on principle most of the time, but they actually got their hands on the footage of what actually occurred inside of the elevator, which entailed Ray Rice striking his wife twice, punching her, extremely hard in the face, knocking her into the railing in the elevator, and obviously knocking her unconscious. And from that, there's been, it's been a media firestorm of what's going on, and subsequently the Ravens released him from their squad. The NFL suspended him indefinitely, which to my mind is kind of nonsensical because they already handed down a suspension, which I would imagine the Players Association is going to buck at. But
the Players Association can go to hell. That's all I got to say about that. That man should have been suspended indefinitely from the fucking beginning. 2 games was a motherfucking joke, dude.
Oh yeah, well I'm getting to that. But another facet of this entire thing is the dishonesty and basically the bullface lies that have been told, specifically by Roger Goodell and the entire Ravens organization and league itself. Initially, they said that they didn't have the videotape when they made their initial ruling. I find that extremely hard to believe. The NFL, with its vast resources, couldn't get their hands on videotape that TMZ was somehow able to acquire. There's been a lot of information that's come out since about the fact that the NFL, it was well within their rights. That's Roger Goodell's went out there and said that they understood it to be illegal for them to try to go to the casino and actually obtain that footage. They didn't want to get anybody in trouble. There's been an AP story that got released a few days ago, actually kind of backing up the fact that the NFL did in fact receive the videotape from law enforcement, and there's a voicemail from a representative in the league saying something along the lines of, "Yeah, I saw it, it's really bad." So, I say all that to arrive at my point here of who in the fuck cares what happened on that video? What the fuck did they think happened in the fucking elevator? Why did they have to see a video to have actually taken the measures that I believe to be 100% the measures they should have taken from the very beginning?
I totally agree.
number one, obviously this has been the biggest sports story, for the last 6 months, and it's been plastered all over every single sports news site.
As well as it should have been.
And I definitely think that it should be talked about because, I think obviously the relationship with women in society, is not where it should be. The relationship of women with the NFL is not where it should be. The idea that this is some kind of isolated incident is absolutely not true. We have, what's his name? Gary, I forget his name. Now, the defensive end for the Carolina Panthers literally got in a fight with
Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy, right. And threw her on a pile of guns. There was just within the last few days, there's been a San Francisco 49ers player that's been accused of violence against, I don't know if it's his fiance or if it's just a random woman. They're just in the past offseason, Darren Sharper was indicted on charges of, rape. It's obviously not...
And on more than one victim on that one.
Right. It's obviously not something that's a totally isolated incident. It's obviously pervasive. The attitude that you should be able to hit a woman is completely devoid of any kind of logic.
And I want to say this. I want to make this point. I've seen a lot of stupid assholes out there talking about how, well, we don't know the whole story. We don't know if she hit him first, blah, 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 blah. And here's what I'm going to say about that. I was taught you don't fucking hit a woman. Regardless of whether the fact she's smacking the hell out of you, you don't hit a woman. Period. You just don't. Good example. My dad, when my parents were separating, was sitting in our kitchen talking to my mom, and he was telling her that it was over with because, it was just done. He was tired of her playing games with him. She got pissed, decided she was going to commence to swinging at him, and then she just beat the shit out of him. And to his great credit, he sat in that chair, just held onto the arms of the chair and took it, and did nothing about it until me and my brother came and grabbed her and pulled her out and pulled her out of the house. It's you just don't hit a woman. You don't do it. There's no excuse. None. The only time I would say that it might be excused is if she's actually threatening your life. If she's got a knife to your throat or a gun to your head, okay. I see maybe in that case. But otherwise, there's no fucking excuse.
And only maybe. She has to stab you a little bit before it's legit.
I 100% concur, Mike. There's absolutely no instance where that's acceptable behavior. Unless it's in an instance where your actual life is being threatened. The fact is, for someone, and if you go back and watch the video, and it's been speculated now that he actually spit on her, and that enticed her to kind of lunge forward at him and for him to strike her. Spitting on somebody, and the way that he acts after he knocks her out is just devoid of any kind of, care for the person that he actually hit.
Agreed.
Not that even if he acted super concerned. The fact is he's a fucking piece of shit. And anybody out there defending his actions or saying something along the lines of, well, if a woman, Paul George went out there, dude, and opened his big fucking yap about it. First of all, nobody asked you, Paul George. Second of all, you're a dumb fuck. And third of all, why would you even insert yourself into a situation that is so hostile? The fact is, you're not going to say the right thing in that situation. And in fact, the only right thing to say is, it's fucking wrong. It's wrong.
Or keep your yap shut. He lost so much respect in my book, and I love the guy. I love the guy as a player, but man, that he just lost almost all of the respect I had for him. What a piece of work.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but the fact is, there, and like I said last week, we kind of touched on the subject of Gamergate, this rampant misogyny that is just ever present in our society. This idea that it's okay to strike anyone that's of lesser, ability than you is just absolutely asinine. It makes absolutely no sense to me, and I'm absolutely 100% glad that Ray Rice has been suspended. I hope he never gets to put a helmet on his head, and I hope this is the beginning of an end of having to hear this stupid ass argument of, of is it okay? It's not okay. There's no conversation to be had. And the thing, I do want to say one thing. The actual way that the actual correspondence on the news organizations that have handled this is a colossal fuck up. On Thursday night, James Brown delivered a really poignant, great speech. Keith Olbermann has had some great tirades about how every single person involved in the situation, including the prosecutorial people, the district attorneys, have totally fucked this situation 7 ways from Sunday.
Yes.
But everyone else talks about how good of a player he is. Well, who gives a fuck? I don't care if he was fucking Walter fucking Payton. I don't care if he was the best running back to ever play the fucking game. He fucking did a despicable thing, and he should be held accountable for those things.
Totally agree.
Instead of holding up the fact and trying to make him an example and say, this is indicative of a problem, let's examine the problem and try to correct the problem. Everybody wants to talk about how much it's sad that he's going to lose his career. When in fact, from everything that I've read, he's still due $25 million that he's just going to take straight out of the fucking organization unless they do something to try to, block that from actually taking place. He's going to continue to be a millionaire and become even more of a millionaire after this situation. I find it very hard to muster any sympathy for Ray Rice in the situation.
I have zero sympathy for the motherfucker. And it just so happens I agree with Olbermann. As far as culpability is concerned, I fucking think Ozzie Newsome needs to lose his fucking job. I think Roger Goodell needs to lose his job. The prosecution needs to lose their job. Heads needs a role as far as the police department that was investigating the motherfucking shit. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to force the Ravens owner out the door over this, but at least the general manager needs to go. And I also want to say this. They threw John Harbaugh under the bus. They threw him to the lions when all this broke earlier this week with TMZ. They put him out as the face to talk about the whole Ray Rice situation instead of Ozzie Newsome getting up off of his scared ass to go out there and face the music. That pisses me off. I felt bad for John Harbaugh.
Well, the whole entire mantra of, we care about him. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I don't give a shit if he was a good guy before. I don't give a shit if he's a good guy after. He did the actions, and I'm sorry, but if you have it within you to actually, do something like that, I don't think you're a good guy, and I don't think you ever were. Maybe you were. Maybe you were a good guy. Maybe there was a facade of a good guy that you put out to everyone else.
Right.
But you definitely were not a good guy if you had it within you to strike someone that you supposedly care about to the point where you knocked her out. It's just insanity, and we could talk about it for a million years because it just pisses me off. And
yeah, me too.
It absolutely is, like I said, indicative of a problem, that's totally pervasive in culture and in society and culture today. And hopefully this Ray Rice situation shines a light on it. Hopefully it's the beginning of something that can actually institute some type of change. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one more thing to piggyback on that. Of course, we had the breaking story yesterday about Adrian Peterson being arrested. He is being indicted on charges of child abuse. From what I understand of the case, from the sparse details that have come out, sounds like the police they're arresting him for basically spanking his oldest child with a switch, which for those that don't know what a switch is, it is usually a tree branch. And I've seen some of the photos from this, and it's not good. It's not good. The photos are ugly. They're very telling. There's a lot of damage done to this young man, and it's not looking good for AP. So, I would like to. I had a very high opinion of Adrian Peterson. I will wait to see what happens with the case here, but it does not look good for Adrian Peterson, and my respect level for him is going to take a deep dive if everything turns out to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's really done much to kind of refute the point that he did spank him. The idea that, I'm all for, disciplining a child in the correct way, and sometimes that may involve, a pat on the behind. But to strike someone with a switch in a way that, manifests itself in the injuries that the child sustained, that speaks to a level of a lack of self-control. And like I said, it might not be that he meant to hurt him, but he did. Maybe he didn't know his own strength. But at the same time, I mean, that can lead to way more serious implications in the future. And I always had a high opinion of Adrian Peterson. I know last year one of his children passed away while they were not in his care. They were in the care of one of his, I'm sure numerous mothers of his children. But my heart kind of went out to him at that point. The way he handled that situation, I thought was pretty good. And from everything that I've ever read or seen, I understood him to be a pretty upstanding guy. And I don't think that this situation is as indicative of a lack of character as Ray Rice's is. But definitely his my opinion of him has taken a hit because of this. And I think he should be put on the chopping block just like Ray Rice here. The fact is, he per the new league policy, 6 months or six games,
weeks. Yep,
6 weeks is the kind of standard, and it can be extended out further than that if children are involved, which obviously that's the case here. And in my opinion, he should be suspended in the entire year. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. Like I said, at this point, everything's still kind of not 100% as far as the information that's been released and that's out there. But I mean, it's pretty clear what has happened, and hopefully, again, like I said, it's a pretty bad week for the league, and I felt pretty conflicted this entire time, being a gigantic fan of the league. The idea that I'm going to watch the Ravens game and be excited, knowing that this entire shit show is happening and no one's going to be held accountable for it. It doesn't sit well with me. So,
boycott the game.
If only it were that easy.
I think it's almost ridiculous that people are. And it's almost like they're being too hard on these athletes, though, because they're. It's not like they're elected politicians. That's their job. And yeah, it's despicable what they're doing, but if the CEO of a company beats a child, nobody cares. If the postman...
You're making a good point, Jordan. But here's what I am going to say about this. Most people are going to disagree with what you're saying, because in a lot of cases, pro athletes can get away with just about anything they want to get away with. They get slapped on the wrist where somebody else that might get caught would get a serious prison sentence for it. For instance, you get these pro athletes that get busted with drugs, and if it was somebody that was just Joe Blow on the street, they'd be doing hard time. But not these pro athletes. They can afford a good lawyer and get out of it. And all they get is 2 years probation and have to go to rehab. They don't do any time.
Right, but you can't make a law mean more just because a person's rich. The law should be the same no matter who you are.
Agreed, and that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, and specifically in this case with Ray Rice, he didn't really face any legal repercussions as far as jail time or community service. He kind of copped to a plea deal of going into some kind of treatment where he was going to get in touch with his feelings, and according to the DA, that's the way that they treat all first-time offenders,
right.
Which I think is I mean, that in and of itself speaks to a larger problem within the system entirely.
Yes.
If you can punch somebody in the face and not face the repercussions of that, just go to a class that says, hey, don't beat people. Well, guess what? Here's your class. Don't fucking beat people. Regardless, that's not the case. It's been shown that like less than 1% of first-time offenders within that district face those charges. His influence, his money, his notoriety obviously influenced the decision in the courts. They should be held accountable for that. And Roger Goodell, I think ultimately this is going to lead to a new commissioner of the National Football League.
It's going to have to.
I think you absolutely are right, Mike. I think that what's his name, Mike Biscotti, Ossie Newsom, they should be held accountable as well. And to call it a cover up, I think is silly. To call it the idea that nobody gave a shit that he punched his wife is spot on. Nobody cared, because he was making them money. And nobody cared that they could go out and do the bigger thing until all of a sudden everybody saw the video. But once again, I still have to go back to what the fuck did you think happened in the elevator? Why did we have to have this video?
Right.
I
totally agree.
But like I said, I don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about it.
And we can move on.
I do think you're right, Jordan. I think that you put yourself in a position to be held to a higher standard. And Mike, you're right. The fact is, most of the time athletes are not. They're kind of given a lot of leeway as far as the way that the law handles situations that they're involved in. And I think that is the case with this Ray Rice situation. I don't think that any kind of any way to minimize this situation, I think, is wrongheaded. He did something despicable. I think anybody that did something like that in that situation should be held accountable. And I'm so glad that he will not be in the league. And I hope that next year he's not some kind of loophole gets him back in a uniform, because the league just shouldn't be associated with stuff like that. And hopefully this leads to harsher penalties and more in-depth investigations when it comes to shit like this. So
totally agree. So with that said, there was one last thing I want to one last thing for the NFL anyway. Before we move on to the next subject here, wanted to do...
Who got arrested now?
Wanted to do something new here. Wanted to do game picks. I thought it'd be fun for us to pick the winners of the games going into each week here, and just keep track of who's doing the best, and see if you guys were open to a friendly wager where maybe the winner gets bought wings for dinner one night by the losers.
I will put my wings on the line.
Right on. So. Well, since you spoke up first, why don't you go ahead and pick games? What I'll do, we'll make in-depth breakdown. We can just make it real quick. Jordan, do you got a pen and paper handy by perchance?
Maybe. I have paper. Do you have a pen?
I mean, this is all being recorded. It'll be on the internet in perpetuity. So we can always
Don't worry, Jason will keep us honest. I do want to say now that I'm back, thanks to him for filling in. But
yeah, we missed you, J Money.
Of all the cocksuckingest episodes we've had, last week was the cocksuckingest.
I can't help it that Justin just jocks certain athletes that will go nameless.
Let's not get involved in that conversation again, or this will be another 3-hour podcast.
Let us know when you're ready, J Money.
So I guess, Mike, you want to give us a game, and then we all just pick. Yeah.
So we'll do this rapid fire style, and no breakdown of the teams, the matchups needed. We'll just do it quick. So since the Thursday night game's already been played for week 2, we'll go ahead and bypass that, but we will pick the week 3 Thursday night game just so we're up to date here. So we'll start off with Justin, then we'll do Jordan, and then we'll do myself last here. So first game, Dolphins at Bills.
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
I've got the Dolphins as well.
Okay.
Next game, we've got Jaguars at Redskins.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's the battle of who could win.
I'm going to go Jaguars.
I'm going to go Redskins.
I am also going to go Jaguars. Next game, Cowboys at Titans. Another game of battle of who can win.
I'm going to go with Titans on this one.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cowboys also. I think they get off the schneid. Even though I hate them. Next game, we got Cardinals at the New York Giants.
Cardinals.
The baseball team?
No hesitation.
No.
The Giants suck, man. And they're going to suck this year so bad.
Who you got, J Money?
I'm going to go Giants.
I'm going to go Cardinals.
I'm going Giants because I've never heard of the Cardinals.
All right, so next game we've got New England Patriots at Minnesota.
Yeah, Patriots by a mile, especially without Adrian Peterson.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going New England.
Yep, I got New England also. Next game we've got the Saints at the Browns.
Should I even dignify that with the response? Saints.
Yeah, I'll go Saints.
And I have the Saints as well. Next game should be probably the game of the week in my opinion. Falcons at Bengals.
Yeah, this one's super tough, but I'm going... Jesus. I was going to say something and then I automatically changed my mind. I'll go
Audible.
I'll go
Falcons.
Falcons. Omaha, Falcons.
Justin, I missed it.
Falcons.
Falcons.
I'm going to go Bengals.
Here you got, J Money.
I'm going to go Bengals.
Okay. Yep, I'm going the Bengals as well. I think the Bengals defense is just better, and I think that's going to be the difference.
Hopefully A.J. Green plays. So.
From what I've been reading, he's playing.
Oh yeah, I mean he didn't practice, I guess, yesterday or today, but he most likely will be in the game. So.
Okay, next game we've got Lions at Panthers with the return of Cam Newton at the helm for the Panthers.
They played well without him. Cam Newton still is going to suck this year, and I'm going with Lions. Calvin Johnson with another 200-yard receiving game. Jesus, he's good.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lions.
Yep, I've got Lions as well.
Hopefully they can swim.
Okay, Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Bucks.
Yeah, me too.
Yep, I'm on the Bucks as well.
McCown still sucks though. So.
Well, I don't think you're going to get any disagreement about that. He's not the greatest in the world. Next game, this will be an easy pick too. Seahawks at Chargers.
Yeah, there's no question. The Hawks. I hope they intercept Philip Rivers 50 times.
Yeah, I'm going with that too.
Yep, Seahawks all the way. Texans at Raiders. And you know, when I first saw this, you know, my initial inclination was to just automatically pick against the Raiders. But I actually think there's something to this rookie that they've got, this rookie quarterback. What you got, Justin?
Oh, yeah, I got the Raiders. And he's good. He's going to be good. He's got a couple of talented wide receivers, you know, MJD. But the Texans' defensive line, you know, hopefully they don't hurt him. But I still pick the Raiders for this game.
Okay.
Don't mess with the Texans.
Yeah, I am going to go Raiders also.
J.J. Watt is still a mountain of a man, and
for sure.
He wins Defensive Player of the Year. Holy shit! Did you watch him last week?
Yeah, dude, that guy's a beast.
Jesus Christ, man!
Dude's just an absolute beast. Jets at Packers.
Oh man, Packers for sure. The Jets are pretenders.
I'm going to go Jets. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers. I'm not a believer in Geno Smith, so...
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Chiefs at Broncos, which I think will be a pretty good game.
I don't. I think the Chiefs showed their colors last week of being 100% flash in the pan from last year, and I think the Broncos steamroll them.
Yeah, I'm going Broncos.
Yep, I got the Broncos also.
Especially with the injuries too, with a couple of the defensive players there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a hard time, getting over the hump. So.
For sure. Bears at 49ers.
49ers. The Bears suck. They suck last year. They lost to the fucking Bills. Last week, I should say, not last year. I mean, they suck last year too, but they definitely suck last week. So, fuck the Bears and fuck Jay Cutler.
The Bears.
And I'm going with the 49ers. And wrapping up week 2, of course, we've got the Monday night game. Colts and Eagles. It's actually Eagles at Colts.
Yeah, this one is another tough one. But I pick the Colts. I don't know if that's because I'm a homer, but I think that the Eagles' defense is not super stout, and hopefully Andrew Luck can kind of score a lot of points, because I know that Eagles offense is going to score a whole bunch of points on the Colts. So
he better. I know a lot of fantasy teams are counting on him.
Is there namely one fantasy team, Jordan, that's counting on him?
There's only one worth following, I'll tell you that much.
Jordan, you got the Colts then, I assume?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going Colts.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. I am having a really hard time picking that game.
Just because your boyfriend on the Eagles.
No, it's actually not because my boyfriend on the Eagles.
Don Henson?
I'm just I like to take Don's fruity little ponytail and, anyway, I don't think the Colts defense is any good. They have no pass rush. There's no pass rush.
Yeah, we didn't know last week when we recorded that Mathis.
And Mathis is done for the season.
Significant blow.
For sure. So, with that said, that's what's really got me questioning this game. I mean, last week was a bad indication that we had no pass rush at all. And the Eagles are capable of putting up a ton of points. I'm going to pick the Colts just on hope, but I don't have a lot of faith in my pick at all. So
yeah, I think it's a close one. But hopefully Andrew Luck can score more points than the Eagles' defense or offense does, because I know our defense, especially with that offense that they run, is going to have a hard time keeping up with it. So.
Yeah, I think McCoy's in for about 300 yards all-purpose.
Oh, absolutely. I don't like him, but Jesus, he's good.
All right, so I thought we'd go ahead and pick Week 3's Thursday night game, which is Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and this kind of echoes the conversation from last pod when we were kind of talking about that division and who's going to, come out of it. And then the Hawks went out and totally,
You mean the Falcons?
The Falcons went out. Man, I did that last week too, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
The Falcons came out and Matt Ryan just played out of his fucking mind. And I think they're going to be good this year, and I definitely pick them on next Thursday night.
I'm going to go Tampa Bay.
And I'm going to go Falcons also, since they're at the Dome.
Yeah, they're hard to beat at home for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that said, that's with the NFL games picked. We will keep all our listeners statused on what's going on there. So the one last thing I wanted to talk about before we get in the meat of the show here, we this week had the 13th anniversary of the events of 9/11. I think it's important. I think it's really important for everybody to remember what happened that day. I think it's important that we don't forget. I spent the evening 9/11 watching some stuff that was on the History Channel and on MSNBC. In fact, MSNBC ran a 2-hour show, basically the Today Show that had broadcasted that morning. And I remember it still like it was yesterday. Those memories are kind of burned in my mind. I actually was on vacation from my job at that point, and I was up early in the morning for some reason, and I actually watched the whole thing happen live, and I don't think I stopped watching television for a few days. Probably one of the scariest moments of my life up to that point. And, even though I didn't know anybody personally that was involved in any of those terrible tragedies, my heart still goes out to the victims and their families. And I still feel sadness when I see that stuff. In fact, I'm just a softie, and I was crying like a baby watching that stuff the other night. So I do think it's worth mentioning that we should never forget that.
Yep.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I was in high school, and being a typical high schooler, I don't think, looking back on it, I remember thinking, well, this is pretty significant, but I don't know anybody personally. It just didn't hit me on that day. But in retrospect, especially this year, with the daughter, I think having a kid, I think, does kind of change you. Not to get too deep into the mushy stuff here, but watching testimonials of people that lost loved ones, watching testimonials of people that did some pretty heroic acts that day.
Yeah.
Specifically, there was a article kind of floating around about the search dogs that kind of helped uncovering the survivors. And I'm not a huge animal person, but gotta say, reading those articles, seeing those pictures, kind of, was super evocative for me. And it's one of the most significant things that's ever happened in American history. Our parents had JFK, but JFK was a presidential assassination, not to minimize the fact that that he lost his life that day, but this was it had a significant impact on the way we live our lives, and super resonating with the stuff that's going on in the Middle East right now. Obama kind of addressing the nation about how we're going to handle ISIS and all of the bullshit that's come out of the Middle East just here within the last month. Make it something that's even more prescient. So I agree with Mike. It's definitely something that I don't think I'll ever forget. I don't think it's something that we should ever forget. And I think that honoring the people that lost their lives that day, and trying to live your lives as best as you can moving forward is the best way to honor them. But always keep them in our hearts and in our prayers and in our thoughts. So,
for sure. Jordan, you got any thoughts, buddy?
No, I think you guys summed it up. It's just a terrible tragedy, but Yeah, I think all the memorials, they've done in New York, and it seems like every town's got some kind of memorial. And I think that's good. That it was something that kind of brought the nation together for a little bit. So
it's a shame that it takes something like that to actually unite the nation.
I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously our show's not a super political show, but right now, the partisanship and just this inflammatory nature of politics and the way that people talk about things, to look back on a time where, the entire nation kind of stood together, experienced a great tragedy, and tried to navigate those waters as best they could in the following weeks, months, and now years. It's hard to believe that it's been 13 years since that day. But yeah, I mean, like I said, if nothing else, to kind of make everybody, take a step back and realize that, regardless of your deep-seated political ideals or your feelings about one topic or another, that we're a united nation. We're filled with lots of people with lots of different ideas, and if nothing else, keep that in mind. And like I said, obviously, none of the attention should be taken away from the people that lost their lives, and the fire department, the first responders, the people that were on the ground, trying to help those people that day. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to kind of transition from, specifically because we're going to start talking about how much we hate or love the movies that we saw this summer. But yeah, like I said, it was super impactful, and in a couple of years it'll be the 15th, and like I said, I truly cannot believe that it's the 13th anniversary of such a significant, impactful event. So.
Okay, coming off the heaviness here, hopefully we can lighten up the mood here a little bit. We've been pretty heavy here this episode so far.
Yeah, this is a dark show.
Right. So we thought we'd talk a little bit this week about the movies of the summer, this past summer here. Take a look back at some of the movies we liked or maybe didn't like and why we did or didn't like them. For myself, I'm going to say right off the bat, I just don't have much time to go see movies. Old son, and it's hard to break away to go catch a movie. So I can count on one hand the amount of movies that I actually went to a movie theater and saw this summer. So seen movies and than I have, so this is probably going to be predominantly you guys running the show here, but I will try to interject where I can. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor and let you guys take it over here.
For sure. Do you want to kick us off, Jordan?
Yeah. So what about let's look at comedies. I guess any good comedies that you saw this summer?
I mean, like Mike said, I became a new father over the summer, so the selection of movies that I saw were not as robust as what I usually am able to go out and catch. But there was one comedy in particular that I was able to catch this summer, and that was Neighbors, the Seth Rogen, what's his name, Zach.
Franco.
Dave Franco's in it. But what's the good looking dude? The only thing I can think of is Zach Galifianakis. That's obviously not Zach Braff. Zach
Efron.
Efron.
Okay.
But I thought the movie was incredibly funny. And
it looked funny.
It definitely resonated with me too, because it's kind of a story about making that major transition, kind of transitioning from childhood ideals and the way that you live your life when you're in college in a frat house, and this new family. They just had a child moving into a house. Well, I guess they live in the house and the frat moves in next to them, but interacting with these people. There's specifically an awesome scene where they're kind of talking about these cultural touchstones, and they're kind of talking about Batman. And Zac Efron's Batman obviously is kind of Christian Bale, and Seth Rogen's character, his Batman is Michael Keaton. So, like I said, it's funny, specifically in that regard, but a lot of laughs. I mean, there were times that I was like rolling on the floor laughing. I mean, not literally, but some ruffling going on. So,
yeah, I did not see one. The previews. They made it look funny, but it's just a little too crude, too. So I chose to skip that one and save my money for more of a sure shot. I saw A Million Ways to Die in the Old West.
Wait. So you're calling Neighbors crude, and A Thousand Ways to Die in the West, Seth MacFarlane's humor you don't find crude?
If you're going to watch one crude movie this summer, go with Seth MacFarlane. What's the choice?
I don't know if I would totally agree. Having not seen A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Right, and I will say that it was less crude than like Ted or even some of the Family Guy humor. It was more of an actual comedy movie than the stuff that he normally makes. So I think I was happy with the choice I made. It was pretty good.
Right on.
And Let's Be Cops, I think, is the more recent comedy that was even funnier. That's still out in theaters. You guys have to check it out.
I will probably have to wait for Blu-ray on that, or hopefully Netflix.
You're such a sellout.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I did not see Let's Be Cops. I also missed 22 Jump Street. I was super disappointed to have missed both. And like I said, I've heard 22 Jump Street's actually, extremely funny. And obviously Jordan's kind of been singing the praises of Let's Be Cops over the last few episodes. So it's definitely something I'm waiting to check out. But yeah, like I said, I mean, when you're talking about the comedies that kind of hit this summer, outside of, a few family-centric comedies and, I think Adam Sandler's movie that released this summer, which I'm sure was horrible, as most Adam Sandler movies are recently.
I don't even remember it.
I'm sure, I'm sure it probably pulled in plenty of money because people, love to go out and watch, truly shitty movies most of the time. So,
Yep.
Here's my thing about going to see comedies. I have a much different sense of humor, I think, than most people do. I don't find a lot of what passes for comedy funny.
Well, did you watch This Is the End?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it was good.
Do we need to watch it? Obviously, I mean, I think you got that for me for Christmas last year. We need to watch it because it is funny as shit. And I think that it's definitely like right up your alley and I think Neighbors is too. I think, like I said, obviously becoming a father this year, some of the stuff that they kind of touch on in that movie kind of resonated with me. I think that, that's probably would be the case for you as well. So I would definitely recommend Neighbors for sure.
Okay, I'll check out Neighbors, and This Is the End. This Is the End has actually been on my need-to-watch list for a while. I just haven't gotten around to it. Like I said, I tend to steer clear of comedies until I've heard the recommendation of friends whose recommendations I trust. So,
Justin,
I'll check them
we're
out.
not on that list, by the way.
That is not true. That is not true. As long as we're not talking about motherfucking Will Ferrell or John C. fucking Riley.
He was in a movie. Both were in a movie that you liked this year. So
Yeah. I mean, I like the Lego Movie, but in most general cases, I don't like them in comedies.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely. I can't disagree. A lot of times, Will Ferrell kind of isn't totally aligned with my sense of humor either.
Yep.
But not to the extent that I refuse to watch a movie if he's associated with it. So, but yeah, like I said, I mean, when you're talking about comedies, you're talking about, there wasn't a big glut of comedies specifically up our alley that I saw this year. But I do have to say, I'm sure that I watched one movie that you guys both probably are totally uninterested in and are going to laugh when I say that I watched it. but it was The Fault in Our Stars. And
Dude, I totally want to see that for real.
Dude,
I just saw that's out on video already.
Don't watch it?
It is, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good.
Okay.
And I was really looking forward to it because I'm, I heard lots of positive buzz about it. I like
That's what I had heard.
coming-of-age romantic comedy movies. I hate the standard schlocky rom-com crap, but something that has a unique spin and kind of speaks to, existential problems that a girl dying of cancer, going through one of her first major relationships in her life, that I thought was kind of grounds for something that could be interesting, but it's really not. It's really not that good. I did not enjoy it at all.
Well, that's disappointing.
Now, there were some scenes in that were filmed in Indiana. Did you notice? Like, could you tell any of?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I think John Green. I mean, the whole movie is kind of set in Indiana. I don't know.
Right.
John Green. It's based upon a book by John Green. I don't know if he's from Indiana. I have no idea why he chose Indiana as a setting.
I think he is, and I heard there was like 2 or 3 scenes that were actually filmed, like Castleton area somewhere. But,
yeah, definitely nothing that I recognized as I was watching the movie in a way.
Right.
So.
Nothing in Castleton really stands out. Like even when I'm there, like it looks like everywhere else. So
Yep.
I don't think I would notice.
Yeah, I mean it was weird when they were talking about, I can't remember exactly what town the story set in, but they were like, "We're in Indiana," and I was like, "Oh, Indiana." So.
Yeah. Now there's
That's disappointing. I did really want to see that. That's disappointing.
There's a Robert Downey Jr. movie coming out that takes place in Indiana too.
What's that? The one where he's the judge's son or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what that's called, but...
I can't remember either, but that looks like it might be decent.
I mean, Robert Duvall's in it, and I love
Yep.
Robert Duvall, so... but yeah, like I said, that's really the only kind of off-topic movie that I saw. I'm sure pretty much every other movie that I saw is right up our alley, but I do want to do a strong shout out to a movie that I was able to catch, a little indie movie. The director and main star of the show has directed, quite big movies here within the last 15 years or so, and this movie felt really personal, and it was actually really, really fucking good, and that is Chef.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
I really enjoyed it, and like I said, it was really low key. There's not a lot of drama involved in it. It's not like some kind of save the world story or some kind of run of the mill story. It's kind of follows a father that is a chef for a small restaurant, butts heads with the local critic, and decides to get a food truck. And what follows from that is, building a relationship with the son and this examination of what it means to be a critic and what critics can do. And like I said, in that regard, it's super personal for Favreau. I mean, he's kind of went on the record as saying that, his interaction with the critics, food critics specifically in the movie, kind of mirror his own feelings about the way that, his movies have been received by critics here recently. And I have to say Chef was, a standout from the summer. Something that I was not super looking forward to. I was, I like Jon Favreau, and I heard some positive buzz about it, but when I watched it, I was like, wow, this was one of the most enjoyable movies that I got to see this summer. So,
yeah.
So it was basically over the top with food.
No, not really. It was. I mean, food is definitely a main character in the movie, but it's not everywhere. It made me want to learn how to cook. Watching that,
yeah, definitely. I mean, this idea of food porn is present. I mean, there's some long, protracted cooking scenes. That I'm sure if you're a foodie, I hate that term, but if you really are into food, you probably would really enjoy those, and they're well shot, and definitely, I agree, Jordan. I watched it and I was hungry. I was like, I want some carne asada tacos,
Right.
I want some.
And I like how
he's making.
You could tell they really well represented all the cultures that they went through because he's driving this food truck coast to coast, basically, and he's stopping at all the major like areas where they're known for different styles of food, and he takes from that and he makes it his own, but he keeps it, in that same vein. I thought it was a great movie, and it had a long theater run. It's still in theaters in some places, I think.
Yeah, like I said, it's definitely a standout of the summer, and like I said, I like a lot of smaller budget indie movies, and usually that's not the standard fare that you get during the AAA blockbuster summer pack months. But Chef was kind of a little gem that I plucked out, and I really enjoyed. I couldn't recommend it more highly. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
so
it was very enjoyable. I took my parents to see it. They liked it. I saw Avengers 2 last week. No,
Avengers 2?
I mean the Expendables. I always get them mixed up.
So you saw the I was going to say
3.
I was going to say, holy shit! That was a comedy of fuck ups there, Jordan. You saw the Avengers 2, which I was like, does Jordan have some kind of connection to the industry that we need to take advantage of here? Because holy shit!
Well, he met Doc Brown.
Movie.
Yeah, Doc Brown, exactly. It's like it's about your grandchildren, Iron Man.
Right.
So,
it was okay. It was a good paced movie, a lot of action, but I think they're getting away from the few things that the Expendables does well. Like
which is probably almost none at all, right?
Exactly. When you go to see Expendables, you want a couple things: a lot of stars making fun of their catchphrases. And Expendables 2 had that. That was perfect at it. They nailed it. And this one, they had a couple stars that they've added, but a lot of people I didn't recognize. But the only one really making fun of their line was Schwarzenegger, and he made fun of the same line twice. It was nothing.
Which line?
Get up. So the first time he said it, he was in a helicopter, and another helicopter was chasing him, and he said, "Watch out for the chopper."
I'll get to the chopper. I can't do it. Get on Schwarzenegger impersonation.
Probably one of the funnier scenes was Harrison Ford, Sylvester Stallone, and Jason Statham kind of having a conversation, and they're talking to each other about how they can't understand each other, and they need to stop mumbling. But other than that, it was kind of it was an action movie, but there wasn't a lot of stuff there to work with.
There rarely is with the Expendables movies. I have avoided them like the plague.
I don't know. Antonio Banderas was good in this one because he played the polar opposite role of what you expect him to be. I didn't enjoy the character. He was definitely annoying.
Did he reprise his role from like Spy Kids 2?
No. I'm trying to think of where. Okay, so you know the National Treasure movies?
Yeah.
Yes.
With Nicolas Cage, his geeky IT sidekick.
Riley, the guy that plays Riley.
Right. Yeah, Riley, who always has something like really super annoying to say.
Yeah.
So that character played by Antonio Banderas.
Does he have a guitar full of guns?
No.
Then I don't want to see it.
I don't. I think he had an AK-47 in one scene.
Is there a long, protracted scene where Quentin Tarantino goes in and tells a joke and then gets shot in the face?
Nope.
Then I don't
want to see it. Movie.
Then I don't want to see it.
There's a scene where, there's a few scenes where it's Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas making a big ordeal about loading the plane up with supplies. So they have one crate full of grenades, and they put that on the plane. They have one crate full of ropes, and they put that on the plane, until the plane is full of crates. A couple guys join the team. They fly to their mission. They get in the truck, and they go to the woods where they're going to start walking, and they each take out one duffel bag. So they didn't even need a plane full of grenades. Why are we loading the plane full of grenades?
I couldn't answer that. I couldn't answer that for you, Jordan. I'm sure that nobody on the production could answer that either.
Minutes. But yeah.
Well, I mean, to kind of keep it on the track of, action movies, another movie that you guys probably have not seen, when I say the name, you'll probably both be like, what the hell are you talking about? Snowpiercer. Starring Chris Evans. It was a smaller indie budget action movie set in a world where...
Which is based on a comic book, right?
I believe so, yeah, I believe so. It's set in a world where, in order to reverse the effects of global warming, they released a chemical into the air, and when they did, it kind of created a second ice age, and the only thing that is able to withstand the cold, the extreme weather that's been created by releasing this chemical is a perpetual motion train created by some eccentric billionaire before the whole entire thing went down. And the last vestiges of humanity are on this train. And the actual story kind of follows Chris Evans and a group of people that go from the back of the train to the front of the train. It's very prescient, kind of a super allegory to, the class structure that we're under now, the way that America kind of works. But it's filled with a lot of action, a lot of scenes that are just totally unique, and there's some crazy shit that happens in this movie. And
so you say it's a movie where they go from the back of the train to the front of the train.
Yeah. But the whole concept is, like I said, it's an allegory to like a kind of a class-based system, like a caste-based system. And so the people in the back are the lower class, and the people that live up front are obviously, the rich 1%ers, right?
So it makes sense, because in high school, all the cool kids were in the back of the bus.
Yeah, I don't think that they applied any of that logic to the way that this goes. But there's a lot of, it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, and he's kind of a...
Bless you.
He's kind of a really well-known Korean director rather. He's done The Host and Mother, which are, like I said, maybe not movies that you guys are super familiar with, but, were considered, pretty good movies as far as coming out of a foreign market. But this is his first American film, and it was really, really good. It's a little goofy and over the top, and I think it kind of falls apart a little at the end. But the things that it plays with, and just the totally unique scenes that are in this movie are unlike anything else that you're going to see this year, and you should seek it out for sure.
Is it very claustrophobic?
Not really. I think they do a really good job of kind of establishing each train car as being something different. There's a lot of fight scenes that do take place in really small and close spaces, so there definitely are scenes that kind of have that claustrophobic, not very big, not big wide open areas that you're engaging with somebody as far as combat is concerned. But they really do a good job of making it feel a little more open than you would think that the inside of a train actually is. So
interesting.
So, but yeah, like I said, to kind of keep it in the vein of that as well, Chris Evans was in Snowpiercer, but I don't think that that's the movie that most people saw him in this summer. Obviously, he reprised his role as Captain America in Captain America Winter Soldier, that I think all of us have seen. So I think this is a topic that Mike probably can speak to. I think he saw it last night, you said, so it's probably more fresh in your mind. So.
Yeah, I sure did. So, yeah, right off the bat, there is a much different feel to the Captain America the Winter Soldier as opposed to Captain America the First Avenger. I think the First Avenger was more of a period piece, and it served its purpose really well as a period piece. I thought it moved kind of slow and kind of plodded along and stuff, but it was good for what it was. I actually enjoyed the hell out of The Winter Soldier. I thought it was actually a much better paced film.
Yeah.
I very much it very much plays out like a political espionage thriller instead of a superhero movie. I mean, in my opinion, if you took the costume off of Chris Evans and took the wings away from the Falcon, you've got a basic political espionage thriller.
While we're on that, can we take the costume from Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, you could just take all of her clothes. Jesus.
Now it's a movie I'll watch.
Right? So, yeah, but I really enjoyed it. It was just, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, it was just fun. It was a really well done film. I enjoyed immensely the interactions between Cap and the Black Widow. I enjoyed the intrigue with Robert Redford's character and Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. Yeah, just everything about it was terrific. I did not have many problems with it at all.
Now, have you said you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole season?
Yes.
So what do you think of how that played into the series?
Have you guys watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Jordan, did you make it all the way through?
Yes, I did watch it all the way through.
Okay, yeah. Justin, have you started watching any of it?
No, I watched the first
I know
two
you watched
episodes
like the first few and you weren't
totally checked out.
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay, well, in that case, I mean, as far as now that I've actually seen The Winter Soldier, I felt like it connected really well because when Nick Fury gets quote unquote taken out when he fakes his own death, that kind of sets wheels in motion on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they're starting to be suspected. The main characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are starting to be suspected of being Hydra, and they're kind of on the run also. Mm-hmm. And
I gotta get your take on the Gary Shandling cameo. And
I thought it was brilliant. I fucking loved the fact that he even pointed out the pin on on old dude's jacket.
I'm sure that you saw the meme, the Hail Hydra meme, that kind of was circling around the internet when Captain America kind of got released. And that scene where he whispers "Hail Hydra,"
Hail Hydra, yeah,
is just the cheesiest shit I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Did you think it was cheesy with Robert Redford uttering his last words as "Hail Hydra" too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie I really enjoyed, though. I think you're absolutely right. The idea of what's his name, the German dude that kind of uploads his sentience into the
I know what you're talking
system.
about. Yeah, the Swiss German guy. Yeah.
I forget his name. I guess he's a bigger player in the comic books than in the movies. Yeah. I guess he's kind of somebody who is actually in the comic books. But yeah, I think that the opening scene in that movie is one of the best parts of the movie. Like that scene where he jumps into the battleship and kind of is running around and kind of Splinter selling his way through the ship is kind of cool.
So. Yeah, I thought that was cool as fuck. In fact, that plays into a lot of my high marks for the interactions between Black Widow and Cap. Their interactions through the whole movie are great. I love the fact, that they're in the middle of a hardcore mission and she's trying to hook him up with a date.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I mean, I think that the twists and turns in the movie are maybe a little too obvious.
I mean, the wife and I both saw the whole Robert Redford twist coming well before it happened, and. But still, I mean, it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely, if I was kind of rating it, it would definitely be probably, top 3 or 4 movies that I saw.
For you, was it better than the first Avenger?
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I did the first one. I really enjoyed this more than I have any of the Phase 2 movies. In respect to Thor, which I thought was really weak.
And Iron Man 3 was weak too.
I really did not enjoy all that much. There was some cool stuff in Iron Man 3, and I'm sure we can dive into that at some point when we do some kind of Marvel retrospective or something. But I thought that the way they handled what's the villain's name in that movie?
In which movie?
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, he was unmemorable. Were you thinking of the Mandarin?
The
Mandarin, yes.
For some reason, my mind was just thinking the Mongolian, and I knew that was right. But the way they handled him, I thought was really fucking like genius. But kind of did neuter that character.
It totally did.
Them being able to use it in subsequent.
But did you see what happened? Did you watch the bonus video that came on the Iron Man 3 DVD?
I didn't know.
It's fucking good, dude. I think you could probably YouTube it. You need to check it out. It's I can't remember what it's called. Hail to the something, maybe? I can't remember what it's called. But there's a short, and it actually features him, and it's building to an actual... I think they're actually going to show the real Mandarin.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought what they did was kind of brilliant, if not, frustrating. I was...
Hail to the king.
Because he is supposed to be, kind of this ultimate foil for Iron Man. But the way that they kind of handled that entire story, I thought was really clever. But the rest of the movie was not very good. I mean,
All Hail the King is the name of that one shot, by the way, and it is. You can check it out on YouTube. You totally.
Yeah, I definitely will check that out because, like I said, I think that. Further involvement of him in the storyline would be cool.
George the King short? Jordan?
I did not see that, no.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, there was kind of talking about superhero movies. There were a lot of other superhero movies, which is or comic book movies, if we want to kind of phrase it that way, that were released this summer. One of them that was way less good than Captain America: The Winter Soldier was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Holy crap, that was not a good movie. That just was not good at all. Did we go watch that together, Jordan? Did you watch that?
I think so.
Yeah. I think Jordan liked it a lot more than I did, but...
Yeah. As with most things.
I mean, I definitely will say that when I hate on something, I hate on it pretty hard. And Jesus, I hate on that movie hard. It is just not good.
The first one wasn't good, so...
Yeah, I mean, definitely the first one was disappointing. But I like Mark Webb. I like 500 Days of Summer, especially. Not that has anything to do with anything that we're talking about, but go check that movie out. It's fantastic. I was really excited when he was announced as the director of the first Amazing Spider-Man. I was really disappointed when I watched the first Amazing Spider-Man, and I was again disappointed by the execution on Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's some really cool elements that were involved in the movie, but the inclusion of Jamie Foxx's character is just the dopiest, stupid shit. There's this weird thing that they do with the soundtrack where it's like the inner monologue of the Shocker.
Electro.
Or Electro. Rather, of Electro. Like instituted.
This is the Shocker, sir.
And wow, just... And that whole franchise, it did not make the money that they wanted it to. They've changed the idea of what they're going to do for it. And, yeah, basically, somebody delivered a shocker to the Spider-Man franchise, and they didn't like it. But, yeah, like I said, I did not enjoy it. It was definitely one of the worst movies that I saw this summer. Definitely.
Yeah, and I had seen the costume designs well before the movie even put out its first trailer. And I had seen the costume design on Electro, and I'm like, what in God's good name are they fucking doing with this? He looks fucking awful. I mean, Electro's costume in the comic books isn't much better, and it's not much more practical.
Yeah,
but
if they had the real Electro in the fucking show, holy shit, man, that would not play on the big
for
screen.
sure. But his Jamie Foxx's design was just awful, and what was even worse was the fucking Green Goblin. What the fuck is going on? Why can't they just put on a goddamn rubber mask and let him go around as the fucking Green Goblin? For real, man. It's got to look better than what the fuck they did with the stupid...
Holy shit. I like Dane DeWan. I really like Chronicle, which he's in. I'm just going to always do that. Just reference other shit that they've been in that's way better. And Chronicle's really good. But, yeah, you're right. His turn into the Green Goblin is fucking stupid. He looks so stupid. So dumb. Ugh. There's, like I said, we could go on for hours about how much I hated that movie. But, I mean, Jordan, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think you guys are right. I mean, I enjoyed it. Just I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I'm really liking Spider-Man. All of a sudden, I liked the movies that came out, and I just read the Ultimates Death of Spider-Man collection, the comic book, and that series was fantastic. So I like what you can do with that character. I think he's really interesting. Just with that, but the movie, I think they crammed
you read The Death of Spider-Man, and
yes,
Ultimate Death of Spider-Man. Let's make that distinction.
Okay, right. What did you think of that shit, Jordan?
I thought that was a really good story, and especially with the collection, because they kind of show you other things going on in the universe with Shield at war with Shield again and things like that, But yeah, I think that story was like I got a little emotional when Spider-Man actually died. Just the way they told the characters.
But that's not the one that's not the new shit where Doc Ock has taken over Spider-Man's body.
No, but that's over now too.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I
thought it was part of that. I guess that happens probably after this book ends, the next part.
I love nerdy things, and I love to proselytize, but when there's no way you could fucking say that to anybody without them looking at you like you were on fucking drugs, that Dr. Octopus inhabited Spider-Man's body. Holy shit.
Yeah, but they've done a lot of really egregiously bad stories in Spider-Man 2, like the whole Clone Saga. That drug on through pretty much all the 90s and was fucking god-awful. Just god-awful.
But yeah, like I said, it's probably not... We're getting off on a tangent here, which I'm sure is, we do every single episode.
That's what we do.
But...
at least it's not on a LeBron James tangent.
To talk about just constantly poking the bear, Mike. There's two comic book movies that came out that I think are better than Captain America: Winter Soldier. Two that I really enjoyed that I saw this summer. One being Guardians of the Galaxy. Which I don't think probably warrants a whole lot of discussion, as we already did a major podcast on it. It was our inaugural podcast. You should check it out. Episode 1 of the Geeked podcast at geeked.podbean.com. But like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy... Or iTunes. Leave us reviews, please.
We're shilling our own shit here.
But like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was my favorite movie that I saw this summer.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved it. Even though in that movie it sounded like I shit all over it, or rather in our podcast we shit all over it. I loved it. Best movie that I saw all summer. Head and shoulders above. And probably the second favorite movie that I saw would be X-Men: Days of Future Past. I was a big fan. I'm a big fan of the X-Men franchise itself. There's been some missteps in that franchise, definitely. You talk about
missteps is putting it very lightly.
X-Men 3 was,
a pile of shit.
A pile of dog shit. And then X-Men Origin Wolverines was a steaming pile of dog shit. Really terrible. Really terrible. But I really liked the Wolverine that got released a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's good.
And this, while because of the fact that they've not really tried to keep a, totally cogent universe, it did get a little unwieldy as far as retconning some stuff. But the concept of, Wolverine actually going back in time and trying to interact with the people that were, involved in X-Men First Class. Michael Fassbender always is fantastic. James McAvoy, I think, is a really compelling Professor X in those days. And, I
will always sing the praises of Michael Fassbender. I love that guy.
Yeah, like I said, it definitely was a really good movie. This concept of slinging somebody's consciousness through time, and the X-Men franchise itself is a really deep allegory that can be mined in lots of different ways. And I think that the first X-Men, the second X-Men movies specifically did really well. Bryan Singer really did well with those movies, and I think he delivered again with Days of Future Past. Yeah. Jordan, I think you did see Days of Future Past, and it's Jordan.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think I liked Captain America probably better. I did like the X-Men movie, but it didn't have enough of like the superhero story to it. It seemed to me like it was more of a spy movie with a couple of really cool scenes where they do have powers, but I wish I saw more.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but what I do know is that just based on what I had seen, it made me really cautious. I hated X-Men 3 so bad that or in X-Men Origins Wolverine, that it just totally soured me on Fox doing the X-Men movies. I feel like they just aren't doing them justice anymore. And while I did enjoy First Class to some degree, and I did enjoy the Wolverine to some degree, I'm just waiting for them to put out another steaming pile of dog shit, because I don't think that they know how to treat the franchise. Well, I don't think they know what the fans want.
I think that if they leave it in Bryan Singer's hands, that that it's in good hands. The first X-Men, the second X-Men, I think were really good. Specifically, the second one was really good. The first one's a little clunky, and I think that's just by virtue of the fact that not a lot had been done in the field of comic book movies at that time, as far as on that scale. But this one, I think, really delivers. They've already talked about an Age of Apocalypse storyline kind of being the next logical step.
And that's the direction they're going, and it scares me.
I think it even has a release date for next year.
Yeah, it does. And what scares me is I really enjoyed that storyline in the comic books, and I enjoy Apocalypse immensely as a villain. And I am terrified of how they're going to fuck up Apocalypse as a villain, because it just seems like Fox and Sony don't have a fucking clue about how to do these characters right. They always get them wrong. Electro was wrong. Green Goblin was wrong. They fucked up the Kingpin in the Daredevil movie. They don't do these characters justice, and I'm terrified what they're going to do with Apocalypse.
But I do think, I will have to say, well, number one, I think they did nail casting when they got Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
No, I'm not going to disagree with. I'm not disagreeing about actors. I'm talking about how they actually portray on the film.
But I do think, with the exception of that shitty. I don't know who fucking ever thought that X-Men Origins Wolverine movie should have ever. They should have taken that thing, lit it on fire, drowned it into the bottom of the ocean, and never let anyone see it. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It is so bad. So fucking bad. And But with the exception of that, and I think X-Men 3, was a really bad movie as well. Not as bad as X-Men Origins Wolverine by far. But, I think that when you have, Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman and Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence and, just this gigantic cast of totally solid A-list celebrities, that it takes a pretty colossal fuck up to make a really bad movie. And like I said, that's not at all what Days of Future Past is. Days of Future Past was really good. And, while you're right, I think the Age of Apocalypse storyline can be something that, has the potential to be something that could be totally fucked up if you don't handle Apocalypse in the right way. Absolutely, I agree. But I have faith in Bryan Singer. I mean, I know that there's been some legal troubles with him, throughout the last year or so. So I don't know how involved he's going to be in the process or project. But I'm looking forward to it. There's some allusions to that, kind of linked in this movie, and I'm hoping that it can be as good as this movie, if not better.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Apocalypse is going to be a very difficult villain for them to do. And he's got a very unique backstory. He's the oldest living mutant in the world. And he's got very unique powers. And, I'm really terrified to...
Do you mind if I deliver a minor spoiler for you here?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
Well, the tag at the end of Days of Future Past is actually... just a short little scene of ancient Egypt showing the pyramids being built, and then it kind of pans around and you kind of see the side of Apocalypse's face. So I think that is an allusion to the fact that he's kind of the first mutant. And obviously it's a comic book movie. They could really do whatever they wanted if they wanted to. But I think that is an allusion to a more solid connection to his story, as it's, kind of known in the comic book. So,
yep. And then he fights the Scorpion King.
Jesus, don't let that happen.
If that happens, I boycott anything that Fox does with the Marvel Comics movies.
I do want to interject here, and I'm sure it was something I meant to bring up at the beginning of the show, but The Rock has been confirmed as playing Black Adam,
yeah,
in a Shazam movie, which who knows when that'll be released. But I'm looking forward to it. I love The Rock, and hopefully, hopefully DC can get their shit together and develop some good movies.
It's give or take with me, I guess. It's a hit or miss. I love The Rock being cast in a superhero movie, but I don't think Black Adam's the right role for him. How much better would it have been for him to play a badass like Lobo? He totally would have fit the role for Lobo.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and there was obviously speculation behind him being Lobo at one point or another, but I don't know if Lobo is actually something that, a character that's going to get a lot of play. Who knows? Maybe 7-8 years down the line when they've exhausted every other character in the roster of the really well-known characters. I mean, we're getting down to, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being, big major players in Avengers.
Or Ant-Man.
Right, or Ant-Man. So, I mean, nobody's off the table, but I think Shazam's a really kind of a campy, weird idea. This kid gets superpowers and it's magic and shit, right? But I don't know. I mean, it's obviously super far away. They've got some writers on it, not very good writers from what I've heard. I think the writers did Priest or something. Some really crappy movie that got released over the last 5 or 6 years. So that doesn't really speak a lot well to it. So, but hopefully, I don't know if Chris Nolan will be involved or whoever's been kind of guiding. We could go on for hours about how I didn't like Man of Steel, but hopefully.
I think you need to give Man of Steel another chance. I mean, I do have philosophical issues with Man of Steel. I have a lot of philosophical issues with Man of Steel, and I have a lot of issues with some of the choices Superman makes in Man of Steel. But I do think Man of Steel is about as close to a good Superman movie that people will accept without it getting too preachy and too bright and chipper, because people won't. I don't think people are willing to accept a movie that features, a true good. I just don't. I don't think people want that.
Well,
And again,
I don't. Well, you're right, but I mean, isn't Captain America that? Right?
Not necessarily. I mean, yes, he's all, his whole thing is truth, justice, the American way, but
he is a goody two shoes, right? I mean,
he is, but he's also, especially in the Winter Soldier, is involved in a lot of covert, almost, if you would, Navy SEALs kind of shit going on, man. He's also kind of
right, but I mean, he's super righteously.
He's really covert.
Well, right, but he's super righteously indignant when he finds out, that he's been kind of a pawn.
As well, he should have been, wouldn't you?
I'm not. I agree. I'm not saying that it's a bad character turn. I'm just saying I think that Captain America is as close of an allegory to this ultra Boy Scout that Superman would be if you really played him the way that I think that he should be played in the, in a cinematic way. Like I said, I think we're probably going to get on way too much of a tangent if I start talking about how much I hate Man of Steel.
I understand.
But I will say this, that how much of that movie, how much would you not like that movie less if Hans Zimmer's score was not played throughout it? I think you'd like it a lot less.
There would be two things that would cause me to like that movie a lot less. None of that magnificent Hans Zimmer score, and not having, God, his name's escaping me, the actor that played Superman, because I thought he was terrific.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Amy Adams is a good Lois Lane.
Yes,
there's definitely
I agreed with
stuff
that
they can build on from that movie, but let's not have Superman be a sociopath and destroy fucking Metropolis.
That's one of my social issues. I told you I had some issues with the film, and that's one of them for sure.
Well, I mean, like I said, let's get rid of the Matrix and Baby factory. Let's get rid of that shit. So let's just do more of the flying scenes. Let's just do more of that with Hans Zimmer's awesome score behind it. That's what I want to fucking see. Even if you put it to a scene of Toy Story, I still think it's fucking fantastic. So
yeah, I guess we'll get back on track here.
Yeah. Well, I really only have a couple more movies that I saw here, and well, I should say three. Two movies that I really liked: Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The naming conventions don't make any fucking sense. Let's talk about how stupid that is for a second. Would you not think that Rise should come after Dawn?
I would think so.
Whoever made that decision, should be fired, because that's fucking stupid. And it's been a conversation point. And while it has absolutely no bearing on how good the movie is, because it is really good, that is a stupid fucking title for a movie. And, it just blows my mind when stupid shit like that actually comes to fruition.
I know people are going to scream blasphemy at me for this, but I think that Planet of the Apes movies are some of the dullest, boring motherfucking movies I have ever seen in my life.
Have you seen the ones?
I haven't bothered with them because I think the others are so goddamn boring.
Well, I mean, but these two are not anything like the original Planet of the Apes movies. The first one's really good, and this one's even better.
Yeah.
And, the ability of them to have these CG characters, Andy Serkis kind of being these digital apes, it's really good. It's really good and really effectively done. There's some awesome action sequences. There's and to a certain extent, super deep storytelling. I mean, I shouldn't say super deep storytelling. Not, it's not apes kill people, right? I mean, right. And to a certain extent, they try to.
But it's a non-verbal story.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, there's this whole in this movie specifically. There's this whole, social structure of apes that have kind of built this civilization, and to see them interact with humans, and this idea, of what the other means. Like, it really is good. It's. I would recommend that you watch both of them. I think the first one is vital viewing for the second because there's a lot of callbacks. You could watch the second without seeing the first and still enjoy it. But I think you get a deeper understanding of the character motivations and exactly what's going on if you see both of them.
Plus, you get James Franco in the first one.
Yeah. Well, that's not bald. At least, in that movie anyway. So, and then the other movie that I saw that I really enjoyed was How to Train Your Dragon 2. Not as good as How to Train Your Dragon 1. I know that I've kind of installed the virtues of how much I loved How to Train Your Dragon, specifically in the score section on our pod that we had with the scores. But it wasn't as good as the first. I didn't like it as much as I liked the first one, but it still was one of the best movies that I saw all summer, and I'm sure it stands, way above most of the other movies and way above the movie that I'm about to shit all over here in just a moment. But you didn't see this, Jordan. I don't think that you're super into any movie like this.
No, I did not see How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, so we'll like I said, it's really good, and there's a big spoiler in the trailer. Don't watch the trailer, but definitely watch the movie. It's really fucking good.
Should I not know there's dragons in it?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be almost as stupid as naming your fucking movie Dawn of the Planet of the Apes when after the fucking first movie is called Rise of the Planet of the Apes. What in the fuck?
It's written with ape grammar.
But yeah, like I said, I do have one more on my list that I want to shit all over. Jordan, do you have anything that's way more positive than the negative that I'm about to be?
No, I can't wait. I want to hear what this is.
Okay. This is another movie that me and Jordan went to see. I know it's a movie that Mike was excited for. I know he said that we've deflated his expectations greatly because I shit all over it every time we talk about it. And it is fucking Godzilla. Holy shit, this movie is bad. It's not good. It's just not good. Oh, man. And Mike,
I'm so disappointed. God.
I have to tell you this. Whenever you see a commercial for it on TV, don't watch it because there's some major fucking spoilers in the fucking trailers of the shit.
Here's what you need to watch, Mike. Watch the honest trailer of Godzilla on YouTube, and that'll get you up to speed.
I mean, I'm really disappointed because the teaser trailer and the build up for the movie it felt so awesome. It felt larger than life, and that's the way it should have been. It felt earnest. And that first scene that you had from the teaser trailer when they're diving out of the airplane and shit, that was amazing. And I felt like the build up to the movie, it was going to be terrific. It was going to be the Godzilla movie everybody wanted. It was going to wash the taste out of everybody's mouth of the god awful 1998 Matthew Broderick Godzilla. I thought it was going to you guys have just shit all over it, and it's really just got me disappointed for it.
Number one, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie was good because of the Puff Daddy song that was included on the soundtrack.
Fuck off.
No.
Fuck off.
No,
the right. Led Zeppelin Cashmere Led Zeppelin's Cashmere does not need motherfucking Puff Daddy on it.
That is my jam right there.
Come with me.
The only good song off that soundtrack was the Foo Fighters song that was on that soundtrack. That's it.
The Wallflowers was a good song.
There's a Jamiroquai track that's on that album that's actually pretty good too.
That's somebody we need to actually talk about is Jamiroquai, because that guy makes some fucking crazy good stuff, man.
Yeah, like I said, there's definitely some stuff on that soundtrack that's worth listening to. It does not make the movie any less shitty. It's a terrible movie. Do not ever watch it.
That was better than this new one, though.
I'm pretty sure that they went and cast that Asian dude that they have in the beginning of that Matthew Broderick movie that just says Godzilla, 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 and then they just fucking put him in a time machine, put him back down to about the age that Ken Watanabe is, and then just put him in this fucking movie. Because Ken Watanabe is the most pointless fucking character in the world in this fucking movie. He constantly is making and this is a visual for the people that are watching. You're not going to understand this when you fucking are watching at home. But Mike, look at the video screen. Look at my face. This is the face that he makes the entire time. He makes that fucking face the entire time. The entire fucking time. It's so fucking bad. I can't get my engines revving over this because my God, I was so excited for this movie. The thing that would make the movie exciting is if you had an actual human character driven drama that made sense to kind of make it connect in a way and have that explode itself out into these massive battles between Godzilla and the other monsters. And that's what I thought we were going to get. That's what I thought Gareth Edwards would deliver because he did Monsters, which is a really fantastic movie. About 5 or 6 years ago, it was an independent movie about a reporter and two people that were south of the border with these giant alien creatures. It's a really good movie, and I was like, this is going to be great. If he does this with Godzilla, it will be fantastic. They had Bryan Cranston in it, and Bryan Cranston tries his best to make this movie not good, to make this movie good, and just he can't do it. He just can't do it. The rest of the movie's total shit. Bryan Cranston, good. There's some definite action sequences that are cool that you'll enjoy. Don't watch the TV spots for it because they fucking spoil half the shit that's really cool about those action scenes. Yep. And other than that, it's a terrible movie. It's terrible. And once you watch it, Mike, we have to have a conversation about it on the podcast. Because maybe you'll come out of it now with lower expectations, appreciating it more than I did. But man, I was disappointed in that movie because I was really excited.
I hope it's not one of those things like where I walked into the theater and watched Prometheus and was like, "God damn, this was terrible."
Well, I would say that it's almost Prometheus's level, right? Not really because because of my affinity for the Alien franchise, my expectation for Prometheus was probably way too inflated. So it wasn't as big of a disappointment as Prometheus. That's probably a little hyperbolic because Prometheus was a super big disappointment for me.
Me too.
But definitely a disappointment for me. I did not enjoy this movie almost at all. And spoilers, it's a movie called fucking Godzilla. You don't see Godzilla for like fucking 15 minutes into the movie. Like, what in the hell?
Honest Trailers broke it out. He's in like 16 minutes of a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Which would be all well and good if the shit that he wasn't in was good. But the shit that Godzilla's not in is shitty. The rest of the shit is stupid. So either have way more Godzilla or have the other stuff that doesn't have Godzilla in it. Good. You can't have it both ways. You just can't.
Right. Here's what you do. Watch Cloverfield with the sound off, listening to P. Titty. And you'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah. Just watch Cloverfield, and you'll be on the right track of Drew Goddard.
That's disappointing.
Drew Goddard is really awesome, and Cloverfield is a much better movie than Godzilla. A much better movie. I know that you don't really like Cloverfield that much, Mike, but God, Cloverfield's first of all, it is a really good movie, and second of all, it is better than Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. Damn.
But who knows? Mike will probably be on the episode. He'll probably be on the episode next week talking about how much he loves it. Then maybe we can have an argument about it. So,
Jordan, what do you got, man? You got anything else?
Well, I didn't get to see it, but 30th anniversary of Ghostbusters. We totally missed that.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. That's definitely something I wanted to go see in theaters. With Harold Ramis passing away over the past year. Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time. My family kind of has this thing that they always talk about when we get together. Is when I was a kid, I would say "Go Butters," like I couldn't pronounce it, and I still loved Ghostbusters. And I do want to say, I think Ghostbusters 2 gets a lot of shit that's not warranted. I really like Ghostbusters 2. But it's not Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is maybe one of the best comedies of all time. It is fantastic, and I would have loved to see it on a big screen.
Yeah.
But alas.
Nope.
So you ain't got anything else, Jordan? Nothing?
No, not really. It was pretty quiet summer, but I think we got good movies. Most of the ones that
Got some good
I wanna
movies.
see.
Justin,
Yeah.
does Gravity technically count as a summer movie?
I wouldn't put it in there, but if you did put it in there, did Gravity get released the beginning of this year?
I can't
it was
remember,
last
dude.
year.
I think it was
I
last
can't remember.
year.
Was it last
I think
year?
it was
Okay.
last year. But
you guys might be right.
Either way, Gravity was the best movie of the year last year.
You might be right.
And
My
it's
bad.
probably the best movie of the year this year, because Gravity's fantastic, and nobody will ever get to see it again unless they do a re-release in IMAX 3D. But that's the only way to see that fucking movie. Holy shit, it's good. Holy shit, it's good.
I'm gonna watch it on my new smartphone.
Oh, Jordan, you will not appreciate it as much as you should then.
I think I'll appreciate it about the same.
Jordan.
I know. But what about what else is coming out this year that you guys want to see?
I don't know that there's much of anything that I'm super geeked for. I mean, the closeout of The Hobbit's coming, and
Yep.
I'm sitting here right now telling you guys that I probably am not going to waste my money to go see it in the movie theater. I'll tell you that. I have really, really been disappointed with the previous two. They didn't do it right. They've tried to combine too many other stories into it. They've convoluted it's bad. I don't like it at all. And this third movie just seems like it's going to be 3 more hours of Peter Jackson's bullshit, and I would rather just not waste my money on it.
Well, number one, Peter Jackson's bullshit is better than most other people's bullshit. But yeah, the first 2 Hobbit movies are not very good. The second one I liked even less than I liked the first one. They're not anywhere near the quality of the Lord of the Rings franchise or the original trilogy. The idea that they, obviously they've included aspects of the Silmarillion and other stuff that Tolkien kind of wrote into this story to kind of expand it out to 3 movies. It didn't warrant a 3-movie series. It's way too long and protracted and boring and ill-paced, and it's just not good. And while I like Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug, and I like Martin Freeman as Bilbo, the rest of the dwarves are completely, totally a wash. I don't know any of them. Like there's like 15, 20 of them, and one's the dopey one, and one's the funny one, and one's the old one, and one's the guy with the horn in his ear, and one's the fat one, and they have no personality that separates them from any of the others.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this third movie delivers some solid action scenes, I mean, if it has some Battles of Helm's Deep type shit in there, it'll be worth watching. But I don't know. I don't have very high hopes for it. So
I don't either. In all honesty, I really think that's the only movie that was even on my radar for the rest of the year. I don't really know about anything else that's coming out. I don't keep up with the movies the way I used to.
I definitely have. I have a list, maybe about 4 or 5 that I'm looking forward to. Interstellar being.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that. Is that this
being
year?
the top of my list? Yeah, I think it's November sometime.
I think so.
I'm a Chris Nolan fanboy, and that movie looks fantastic. I'm definitely a Matthew McConaughey fanboy.
Yeah, for sure.
With the shit that he's done over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Whew, man, Matthew McConaughey. Watch True Detective, and tell me Matthew McConaughey.
Dude, he was fucking brilliant.
Actor.
Have you ever seen Frailty?
Yeah.
Dude, I fucking love him in Frailty. He's a fucking amazing in Frailty.
Yeah. Well, I think that his career's a little inconsistent. I think that for a while he was kind of just getting involved in really crappy projects, and over the last few years he's been way more selective and selected some stuff that's way more compelling. Like I said, True Detective being chief among them. So, fantastic. I also am looking forward to the Birdman.
Yeah.
And that looks fantastic. Michael Keaton, Edward
I'm on
Norton, and the trailer is just so good. It's gotten super positive buzz out of the festival circuit that it's been on.
I'm not familiar. What is it?
Well, I mean, watch the trailer because it's hard for me to even understand what's going on in the trailer. From the best of my understanding is there's a guy that either used to be a superhero or used to play a superhero on a television show or something like that.
I think that's what it is.
That is involved in a play production, but I guess there's a lot of long, continuous takes that have to do with him actually kind of navigating through this play production. A lot of weird imagery that's kind of mixed in throughout. But I think the trailer kind of sets the tone for something that I'm super looking forward to. I would recommend the trailer greatly, and it has a really cool.
I'll check it out.
Has a really cool mix of like Gnarls Barkley's "Crazy" played over it, which is really sets the tone. Like I said, for a movie that I've heard is really good.
And I forgot Tusk. I'm looking forward to Tusk too.
Yep. Yeah, Tusk. Tusk is something I'm definitely looking forward to. I like Kevin Smith. Both is
it's getting good reviews.
Yeah, I've heard definitely positive buzz about it, and I think it's supposed to be released next week in theaters. I was really hoping he'd do a VOD release, but from everything that I've read, it's probably not going to be released on VOD at the same time that it hits theaters. So it might be a little while before we're able to see it, especially where we're at. They don't usually pick up on a lot of those smaller movies in the theaters that are close to us. So, but I'm looking forward to that. And I'm trying to think. There was another one. The Babadook is supposed to be released in the next month. It's an Australian horror film that I've heard really positive things about. I'm not really a big horror film guy, but
for someone that's not a horror film guy, you talk an awful lot about horror films.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's one of those things that I'm super conflicted, I guess. I need to go see a therapist because I don't really like him, but I'm super intrigued by something that I think is doing something unique, and that's what I've heard the Babadook is. It's something that has a greater reach than just being a movie to scare you. So, but yeah, like I said, that's probably my list. I'm sure that there's probably a few that I'm just not remembering that are popping out right now. Jordan, did you have anything else on your list?
There's a Liam Neeson movie coming out. Walk Among
the Tombstones.
Yeah,
it looks like Taken 3, basically.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit more in depth than that. I think we'll get to see probably less action and more of him figuring things out, more of a detective type. Have you one of you seen 8mm with Nicolas Cage?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like I get that vibe from A Walk Among the Tombstones.
Yeah, very much.
And that's one of the few Nicolas Cage movies that I really, really enjoy.
Oh, there's a couple other ones that I just want to throw out here as well. There's Gone Girl, based upon a novel by Gillian Flynn, kind of a dime store novel from what I've heard, but it's supposed to be really good. And David Fincher is the director on that, which really, gets me interested because I love David Fincher, and that excites me. And Ivan Reitman's newest movie, Men, Women, and Children, is another movie that I'm, hearing really good things about, and should be released soon, I think within the next couple months. So,
yeah. We got the last movie from James Gandolfini. Was that yesterday that came out, or next weekend?
Yeah, I forget exactly what the title of that is, but
yeah, it looks really good. I'm definitely gonna check that one out.
Oh shit, yeah, and I'm just looking through my phone here to kind of jog my memory, but Foxcatcher is another movie that I'm super looking forward to. Channing Tatum, Steve Carell, story of a high school wrestler, I believe, and this crazy coach that he kind of gets involved in with, directed by the guy that directed Moneyball. And I love Moneyball. So,
which one does Steve Carell play?
He plays the coach.
Okay.
He's not the high school wrestler. Although that might make it a way more interesting movie.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh, man.
I'm out. Don't like Tatum, and I don't like Steve Carell, either one, so...
Oh, Jesus.
I'm out.
Again, this is one of those things, Mike. You don't like Steve Carell in comedic roles, but Steve Carell is a really good actor. He's been in some serious roles that are really good, and this one looks like another movie that we'll talk you into watching, and you'll say, "Oh man, I really like him in that role," because it's totally outside of anything that he's ever done before.
You haven't seen it yet, so therefore you don't know that yet.
Well,
watch the way back. I think that's on HBO.
Watch the trailer for.
I've seen the trailer for it. I've seen it.
And you think that Steve Carell is gonna be doing like his 40-year-old virgin shtick in that movie?
I'm just out. I'm out.
Okay, Mike. I can't make you see it, but I have to say.
Oh yes, we can.
Yeah, you have to open yourself up sometimes, and sometimes those are the best experiences. Not Utopia, but Foxcatcher maybe.
I don't know. I think The Kingsman looks pretty good.
What is it?
British Secret Service. I think it's The Kingsman or The Kingsmen.
I want to say that I am kind of familiar with what you're saying, but I don't know who all is in it. I don't know much about that property at all. So
Samuel L. Jackson and the basic premise, from what I can tell from the trailer, is the Knights in Europe or in Britain, I guess. They're still there, but they're kind of like the super MI6 that's underground, and they're private. They're not part of the government, and they recruit kids off the street and teach them how to be awesome. So it may be a total piece of crap, but it looks like it's British, and British movies tend to be
better
a little just because they're British.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else?
No, I don't think so.
I think that covers most of it.
Okay, well, I think we're actually at a pretty good wrap-up point here. So I think with that being said then, if nobody else has got anything, we'd like to thank you very much for listening. And on behalf of Justin and Jordan, I'm Mike, saying take care, and we'll see you next time.